A toddler dashed across the backyard, chased by a German shepherd's joyful barks, until a silent threat stole their light. In the hospital's heavy despair, a single bark pierced through. Could it call back what was lost? Noah Alvarez giggled as he toddled across the backyard, his tiny sneakers kicking up clumps of grass. "Rex! Rex!" he shouted, his voice high and wild with joy. The 6-month-old German shepherd bounded after him, ears perked, black and tan fur glinting in the late afternoon sun. Rex's tail wagged like a metronome gone haywire, and he let out a sharp, happy bark that echoed off the wooden walls of the Alvarez house. Noah plopped down, arms outstretched, and Rex skidded to a stop, licking the boy's chubby hands with sloppy enthusiasm. "Careful, Michu," Camila called from the porch. Her sewing needle pausing mid-stitch, she smiled, watching her 2-year-old son roll onto his back, giggling as Rex nuzzled his face. "That dog's gonna drown you in kisses one day." Noah didn't hear her. He was too busy grabbing Rex's ears, tugging gently, while the pup yipped and flopped beside him. To Noah, Rex wasn't just a dog, he was a buddy, a shadow that followed him everywhere. Mateo had brought Rex home a month ago, a scrappy little thing he'd found shivering under a car at the garage. "Some jerk left him tied to a tire," he'd grumbled, setting the pup down in the kitchen. Noah's eyes had lit up like Christmas lights, and that was that. 2 troublemakers found each other, now they were inseparable. Every morning, Noah would waddle to the back door, banging on it with sticky hands until someone let Rex in. Every evening, they'd collapse together in the grass, a tangle of boy and dog, until Camila called them for dinner. One rainy afternoon, Noah stood at the edge of the porch, his nose pressed against the screen door. "Rex Yotoroi, mummy," he cried, pointing at the dog sprawled under the awning. Rex wasn't even wet. Just lying there, tail thumping lazily, his brown eyes locked on Noah with a look that said, "I'm fine, kid, stop fussing." Camilla chuckled, ruffling Noah's dark curls. "He's got a roof, sweetie. He's tougher than you think." But Noah's lip quivered, and he stayed there watching until the rain stopped and Rex trotted over to lick his fingers through the screen. Inside, Mateo leaned against the counter, sipping coffee, his grease-stained hands wrapped around the mug. "Kid's got a soft spot for that mutt," he said, voice low but warm. Camila nodded, her eyes soft. "It's just puppy love, you know, little boys and their dogs." She didn't say it out loud, but she loved watching them. Noah's wild energy and Rex's steady loyalty. It was pure, messy, and perfect. Miguel, Noah's grandpa, saw it too. He'd sit in his old rocking chair on the porch, pipe in hand, watching the pair wrestle in the yard. "That dog's got a heart bigger than his head," he'd mutter, a faint smile creasing his weathered face. Once, after a long day, he found them asleep under the oak tree. Noah curled up, head on Rex's flank, Rex's paw draped over the boy's arm. Miguel didn't wake them. He just sat there, listening to the crickets, feeling the weight of something simple and good. Noah didn't know it yet, but Rex was more than a playmate. On quiet nights, when the house settled and the street grew still, Rex would nudge the boy's hand, resting his head there like a promise. And Noah, with his endless chatter and fearless hugs, gave Rex a reason to wag that tail every day. Camilla thought it was just a phase, a sweet little bond that had faded as Noah grew. She had no idea how wrong she was, or how deep that thread between them would run. The July heat hung heavy over Riverton that evening, the kind of sticky warmth that made the air feel thick. Inside the Alvarez house, the hum of a box fan battled the stillness. Noah had been quieter than usual all day, none of his usual squeals or mad dashes around the kitchen. Camilla noticed it first, brushing it off as a toddler's mood swing. "You okay, mijo?" she asked, smoothing his hair as he sat on the couch, his little legs dangling. He nodded, but his eyes were heavy and his cheeks flushed pink. By dinner time, it wasn't just quiet anymore. Noah pushed his plate of rice and beans away, mumbling, "Tired, mummy." Mateo glanced over from the table, fork halfway to his mouth. "Kid's been dragging all week," he said, frowning. "Thought he was just growing or something." Camila pressed her hand to Noah's forehead, warm but not blazing. "Maybe a bug," she murmured, unease curling in her gut. She scooped him up, his head lolling against her shoulder, and carried him to bed. An hour later, everything shattered. Camilla was folding laundry when a thud jolted her upright. She raced to Noah's room, heart pounding, and found him crumpled on the floor beside his bed, eyes closed, chest barely moving. "Noah!" she screamed, dropping to her knees. His skin was clammy, lips pale as chalk. She shook him, her voice breaking. "Baby, wake up!" Nothing. Matteo burst in, his work boots thumping the floorboards. "What's wrong?" he barked, then froze at the sight. "Camila, call 911, now!" But there was no time. Matteo scooped Noah into his arms, the boy's limp body terrifyingly light, and bolted for the truck. Camila stumbled after him, phone clutched to her ear, shouting at the operator through sobs. "He's not breathing right, he just fell." Miguel appeared in the hall, his old fireman instincts kicking in. "I'll lock up, go," he yelled, voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. The truck roared to life, tires screeching as Matteo peeled out toward Riverton Central Hospital. The drive was a blur. Streetlights streaking past, Camilla's prayers mixing with the growl of the engine. Noah lay across her lap, cold and still, his breaths shallow gasps. "Stay with me, baby," she whispered, stroking his face. Matteo's knuckles whitened on the wheel, jaw clenched so tight it hurt. "He's gonna be fine," he muttered, more to himself than her. "He's tough. He's gotta be." The hospital swallowed them in a rush of chaos. Nurses swarmed as Matteo carried Noah through the ER doors, barking, "He passed out! Help him!" A gurney rolled up, and Noah disappeared behind a curtain, wires and tubes snaking around him. Camilla clung to Matteo's arm, her nails digging in, while orderlies pushed them back. Minutes stretched into eternity until a doctor strode out. Elena Torres, her face stern under graying hair. "I need you to listen," she said, voice clipped. "Your son has lymphoma, a type of cancer. There's a tumor pressing on his blood vessels. That's why he fainted." Camilla's legs buckled, Matteo catching her before she hit the floor. "Cancer?" he rasped. "He's 2 years old. How the hell does that happen?" Dr. Torres didn't flinch. "It's rare, but it happens. We caught it early enough to try. He needs surgery now to remove the mass or we lose him." She didn't sugarcoat it. There wasn't time. Matteo nodded, dazed, signing papers he didn't read while Camilla choked out, "Just save him, please." The surgery lasted 4 hours. Dr. Torres emerged, scrubs damp with sweat, and gave them the news. "The tumor's out. It went clean, but he's not waking up. He's in a coma." She paused, eyes softening a fraction. "We've done all we can. It's up to him now." Camilla sank into a chair beside Noah's bed, his tiny hand ice-cold in hers. "Noah, Mommy's here," she whispered, over and over like a lifeline. Machines beeped in the dim room, a cruel rhythm against her hope. Matteo couldn't stay still. He paced the hall, then stopped, slamming his fist into the wall. The thud echoed, pain flaring up his arm, but he didn't care. "I should have seen it," he growled, voice raw. "He said he was tired. Why didn't I push harder?" Down the corridor, Miguel stood outside the ICU window, staring at Noah's still form. His old cap twisted in his hands, fingers shaking. "Come on, kid," he muttered, eyes wet. "You're stronger than this." Noah didn't move. Tubes ran from his arms, his chest rising and falling only because the machines demanded it. The family waited, trapped in a cold fluorescent limbo, praying for a miracle they couldn't name. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and despair, a sterile cage where time crawled. Noah lay motionless under a thin blanket, his small chest rising and falling to the mechanical hum of the ventilator. 3 days had passed since the surgery, and the Alvarez family had turned the ICU into their battleground. Camila perched on a hard plastic chair beside him, her sewing-roughened fingers tracing circles on his hand. "Remember that time you tried to ride Rex like a horse?" she said softly, her voice a fragile thread. "You fell right off, but you laughed so hard I thought you'd never stop." She forced a smile, hoping the story might reach him, wherever he was. Matteo hovered near the door, restless as a caged animal. He'd stopped punching walls. His knuckles were bruised enough, but the guilt still gnawed at him. "Hey, buddy," he said, stepping closer, his voice clumsy with emotion. "When you wake up, I'll take you to the garage. You can sit in the old Chevy while I fix it, okay? Just you and me." He swallowed hard, glancing at Camila. She nodded, but her eyes stayed on Noah, searching for a flicker, anything. that never came. Miguel took his turn too, dragging a chair to the bedside when Camila needed a break. His gravelly voice filled the room as he leaned in close. Back when I was a firefighter, I pulled a guy out of a burning warehouse once. Took everything I had, but he made it. You've got that fight in you, Noah. I know it. But Noah's eyes stayed shut, his face a pale mask under the fluorescent lights. Outside, the days blurred into a grey haze. Camila barely slept, her world shrinking to the beep of the heart monitor. She sang lullabies she'd hummed when Noah was a baby, her voice cracking on the high notes. Mateo brought coffee she didn't drink and forced her to eat half a sandwich once. Miguel shuffled between home and hospital, keeping the house running, but his steps grew heavier each time he returned to see Noah unchanged. The nurses whispered about stable but critical, their pitying looks cutting deeper than words. Back at the house, Rex felt the void too. The backyard was a ghost town without Noah's shouts. The German shepherd lay curled in the corner near the oak tree, his food bowl untouched for days. His ribs started to show under his matted fur, and his ears drooped like wilted leaves. When Miguel tossed a ball his way, Rex just stared at it, then flopped his head back down with a low whine. "You miss him, don't you?" Miguel said, crouching beside him. He ran a hand along Rex's back, feeling the tremble beneath the fur. "Yeah, me too." One evening, as dusk painted the sky orange, Miguel sat on the porch steps, watching Rex nose at an old sock Noah had dropped weeks ago. The dog pressed it to his muzzle, eyes half closed, like he could smell the boy's laughter in the fabric. Miguel's chest tightened. He remembered the nights Noah and Rex had sprawled out here, the boy's tiny snores mixing with the dog's soft huffs. "He needs you, pup," he muttered, voice thick. "More than any of us right now." That night, Miguel made a call. He loaded Rex into the truck, looping the leash around the seatbelt with shaky hands. "We're gonna see him," he told the dog, who perked up for the first time in days, tail giving a weak wag. The drive was quiet, just the hum of tires on asphalt and the rustle of leaves in the wind. Streetlights flickered over Rex's face as he pressed his nose to the cracked window, sniffing the air like he knew where they were headed. At the hospital, Miguel parked and tugged Rex toward the entrance, his limp more pronounced under the weight of hope. The night nurse, a young woman with tired eyes, raised a brow when he approached the desk. "I need to bring him in," Miguel said, gesturing to Rex. "Just for a minute. His family, my grandson's best friend." She hesitated, glancing at the dog's mournful stare. "He's not infectious, right? No risk?" Miguel shook his head, clean as a whistle. After a beat, she sighed. 5 minutes. Keep him quiet." Miguel led Rex down the hall, the dog's nails clicking softly on the tile. The fluorescent glow buzzed overhead, casting long shadows. At Noah's door, Miguel paused, his hand on the knob. "You know what to do, don't you?" he whispered. Rex tilted his head, eyes bright with something unspoken. Miguel pushed the door open and they stepped inside, a man and a dog carrying a desperate, fragile wish. The hospital room was a cocoon of shadows, lit only by the faint green glow of the monitors. Miguel eased the door shut behind him, his breath catching as Rex padded forward. The dog's eyes locked on Noah, still as a statue under the tangle of wires and tubes. Rex hesitated, then let out a soft whimper, a sound so raw it pierced the silence. He stepped closer, his nose brushing Noah's dangling hand, cold and limp against the bed rail. "Go on," Miguel whispered, voice tight. "He's right there." Rex nudged Noah's fingers, his wet nose leaving a faint smear. No response. The dog whined again, louder this time, and pressed his muzzle harder, licking the boy's knuckles with quick, insistent swipes. His tail flicked once, then stilled, as if testing the air for hope. Miguel held his breath, watching, when suddenly Noah's pinky twitched, just a flutter, so slight it could have been a trick of the light. "Camila!" Miguel hissed, darting to the hall. "Mateo! Get in here!" Camila rushed in first, her hair a mess from sleepless nights, with Mateo stumbling behind, his work shirt wrinkled. "What's happening?" she gasped, then froze as Rex let out a short, sharp bark, not loud but piercing, like a call through fog. Noah's hand jerked again, stronger this time, fingers curling inward. Camila's hands flew to her mouth. "Moved! Mateo, he moved!" she cried, tears spilling over. Matteo lurched to the bedside, gripping the rail. "Noah, you hear me? It's Dad!" His voice cracked as Rex kept at it, nudging and licking, a low rumble building in his throat. Then came another bark, small, stubborn, a sound that said, "Wake up, I'm here." Noah's chest hitched, a deep, ragged breath breaking the machine's rhythm. His eyelids fluttered and a faint groan slipped out, barely audible but alive. Dr. Torres burst in, summoned by the commotion, her clipboard clattering to the floor. "Step back, let me see him," she ordered, but her eyes widened as she checked the monitors. The heart rate spiked, steady and strong, no longer a lifeless drone. "He's responding," she muttered, half to herself, pressing a stethoscope to Noah's chest. "I don't know how, but he's coming back." The room buzzed with chaos. Nurses peeked in, murmuring about that dog, their voices a mix of awe and disbelief. Camila sank to her knees beside Noah, sobbing into her hands as warmth crept back into his fingers. "My baby," she choked out, clutching him like he might slip away again. Matteo leaned over, tears streaking his face, whispering, "That's my boy, my tough little man." Rex sat back, panting, his eyes fixed on Noah as if he'd known all along. Miguel stayed by the door, one hand on Rex's head, stroking the dog's fur. "You did it, pup," he said, voice hoarse with relief. Noah's eyes cracked open then, hazy, unfocused, but open. He blinked, a tiny spark of life flickering in the blue. Dr. Torres scribbled notes, shaking her head. "We'll monitor him closely," she said, clinical as ever. Don't call it a miracle yet, but the family didn't need her to. They knew what had pulled Noah from the dark. Rex's stubborn, unshakable call. 3 weeks later, Noah came home. The truck rolled up the driveway under a crisp September sky, and Camila carried him out, his legs still wobbly but his smile bright. He wore a blue knit cap, her latest project. To cover the patchy hair left from treatment. "Look, mijo, we're back," she said, setting him down on a lawn chair by the porch. Rex bolted from the yard, a streak of black and tan energy, and skidded to a stop at Noah's feet. His tail whipped the air like a flag, and he pressed his nose to Noah's hand, letting out a joyful yip. Noah giggled, weak but real, reaching out to pat Rex's head. "Hi, boy," he whispered, his voice raspy from disuse. Rex licked his fingers, then flopped down beside him, resting his chin on Noah's knee. Camilla watched, her heart swelling, and snapped a photo on her phone. Later she'd print it, a blurry shot of Rex nosing Noah in that hospital bed, and hang it above the fireplace. "Our little hero," she murmured, brushing a tear away. Life crept back into the Alvarez house, slow but steady. Matteo hauled an old radio to the porch, tuning it to soft rock while he tinkered with a broken lamp nearby. "Gotta keep things normal," he said, winking at Noah, who nodded from his chair, clutching a juice box. Miguel took to grilling burgers out back, the smoky smell drawing neighbors over. "That dog's a legend," old Mrs. Carter from next door declared, tossing Rex a scrap. "Pulled your grandson right out of the jaws of death." Miguel chuckled, flipping a patty. "He's smarter than most people, that's for damn sure." Rex bounced back too. The hollows under his ribs filled out as he scarfed down kibble again, his eyes gleaming with that old mischief. Every afternoon he'd sprawl next to Noah, soaking up the sun while the boy traced shapes in the dirt with a stick. One day, Noah, now 4, his birthday marked quietly in the hospital, pointed at the photo on the wall. "Mummy, why'd Rex come see me there?" he asked, tilting his head. Camila knelt beside him, her smile soft. "Because he knew you needed him, sweetie, before any of us figured it out. The seasons turned and Noah grew stronger. By spring he could chase Rex across the yard again, his laughter ringing out like a bell. Rex matched him step for step, barking at squirrels and tumbling into the grass when Noah tackled him. Camila and Matteo watched from the porch, hands laced together, the weight of those dark days lifting with every shout. Miguel joined them sometimes, sipping lemonade, his old cap tipped back. "They're a pair, all right," he'd say, pride lacing his words. No one could explain it, not Dr. Torres, not the nurses who'd whispered in the halls, how a dog's whine, a nudge, a bark, had yanked Noah back from the edge. But it didn't matter. Under the sprawling oak tree, Noah and Rex built a world of their own. Sticks and dirt, quiet naps, and unshakable trust. It was a bond forged in shadows and sealed in sunlight, a story the neighborhood told over fences and cookouts. For the Alvarezes, it was simpler. A boy and his dog, proving loyalty could outlast even the deepest dark.